The Hyundai i10 has for some time now been a benchmark in the growing city car segment, offering a clever, space-efficient design with 5 doors, where many similarly priced rivals would offer 3. With running costs now also up amongst the class leaders in this improved version, it's easy to see why it remains such a popular choice in its segment. What's Britain's favourite city car? A Fiat 500, a Ford Ka, something from Peugeot, Citroën or Toyota? Actually no, it's this car, Hyundai's i10, and it's a bestseller for a reason. Buyers, you see, in search of an urban runabout can't be bothered with all the snobby badge issues that restrict Hyundai's sales in larger market categories. Which means that this is one of the few market sectors in which you can reasonably expect the sales leader to also be the best car. It'll be the most spacious and versatile, the best value for money, and the most affordable to run. At its launch in 2008, the i10 ticked all of these boxes and many others. It was the Korean brand's most significant car to date. Right from the beginning, it was clear that this design was going to be a world away from the company's previous efforts in this segment. The curiously quirky Atos of 1997, the Postman Pat-like Amica of 1999. Both of these were products designed for Asian tastes rather than European ones. The i10, in contrast, was targeted firmly at Western families, offering them 5 doors for less money than the established brands were charging for 3. Helped by the government's much-missed scrappage scheme, sales took off, slowing down only towards the end of 2010 when greener, more frugal rivals began to take the shine off this car's running costs. Hence the need for this revised model with its more efficient engine range, sharper styling and higher equipment levels. Let's check it out. The smallest runabouts you could buy always used to be some of the most fun cars you could drive. So it was with designs like the original Mini. But then those cars were also uncomfortable to ride in, too noisy for long distance motoring and saddled with heavy steering that made them awkward to park. Today's urban runabouts suffer from none of these kinds of drawbacks, and this Hyundai is amongst the best examples of the breed. So the ride quality, for example, is class leading. This car sails over all but the worst urban potholes. Plus refinement is impressive and the steering is light and accurate, if a little lacking in feel. Still, that extra assistance, there are just 3 turns lock to lock, does make parking a doddle, and there's an impressively tight 9.2 metre turning circle. Under the bonnet, the much improved Euro 5 compliant petrol engine range brings this car right back into contention in its increasingly green-fingered class. The 1.1 litre petrol unit that this model was launched with has given way to the 68 brake horsepower 3-cylinder 1 litre power plant that I'm driving here. However, a more powerful, better equipped and curiously also less expensive alternative is the 85 brake horsepower petrol 1.2, which, thanks to a 13% power hike over its direct predecessor, manages to trim 3 seconds off this 1 litre model's 0 to 60 sprint time. In the 1.2 it takes just 12.8 seconds on the way to an academic maximum speed of 102 miles an hour. Mind you, this humble 4-valve 1 litre variant still feels lively and agile, and out of town it's possible to hustle it through tight twisting bends with a fluid, assured confidence that wouldn't disgrace a Super Mini from the class above. Like most 3-cylinder units, you have to rev it quite a bit to really get it to get up and go, at which point it can get a bit vocal. But nothing you couldn't live with, and certainly not enough to drown out the rather good CD stereo. Design-wise, despite this revised version's smarter nose with its remodelled headlamps, bumpers and grille, the i10 remains sensible rather than showy, which means that unlike, say, a Ford Ka or a Fiat 500, it won't appeal to the fashionistas. Compensation comes in that lower asking price and the provision of 5 doors where the Ford and Fiat would offer you just 3. But doesn't that make this a slightly bigger car? No, just a cleverer one. The provision of one of the longest wheelbases in its class means that this Korean model can make better use of its compact dimensions, which is one reason why a 5-door i10 comes in at virtually the same length as a 3-door Citroën C1, Toyota Aygo or Peugeot 107. Now I can tell you all this, but you'll probably still look at this Hyundai's tiny size and assume that a seat in the rear for any length of time would be a cramped place, best left to children and eunuchs. But you'd be wrong. Here in the back, you could easily think that you were in a bigger car. Some of my journalistic colleagues have described this as a full adult 5-seater. I think that's going a bit far, but two fully sized adults of up to 6 foot in height would be quite comfortable here, even on longer trips that even have a cup holder. And all the textiles around the cabin have been redesigned to look more attractive and feel more durable. Of course, the luxury of having all of this passenger space in a car with such compact external dimensions has one not so surprising drawback: a boot area of just 225 litres. Mind you, I say just 225 litres, that's actually quite a lot in this class. Of this car's rivals, only Ford's Ka can match it in this respect, and no rival can beat the 910 litres you get by pushing forward these split folding rear seats. At the wheel, you'll look in vain for the style-first attitude and design ingenuity that characterises the best small car interiors. But Hyundai has concentrated on getting the fundamentals right, and that's something you'll appreciate day in, day out. So the dashboard design is functional rather than fancy, with all the controls clearly marked, and this simple but easy to use instrument display now featuring rather attractive blue illumination. True, the dashboard plastics aren't of the current trendy soft touch variety, but it all feels decently screwed together by the Indian factory and built to last. Plus, despite the lack of reach adjustment for the steering wheel and height adjustment for the seat on this entry-level model, it's very easy for the driver to get comfortable. You can see why the i10 is so popular. Most examples of this car are sold in the £8,500 to £9,500 bracket, so yes, there are cheaper city runabout rivals. The thing is though, by opting for something less expensive, you get what you don't pay for. So in going for something like an entry-level version of a car like a Chevrolet Spark, a Peradua Mivi, a Suzuki Alto or a Nissan Pixo, you'd have to do without the air conditioning and decent quality stereo that this i10 includes as standard, amongst other things. Restrict your comparison to more complete city car rivals and you'll find that, say, a 85 brake horsepower 1.2 litre Hyundai i10 will save you about £900 over an equivalent 5-door Citroën C1, Peugeot 107 or Toyota Aygo, yet include more power and equipment into the bargain. And it's the same story when you look at other alternatives. A Ford Ka would cost you around £500 more, a Renault Twingo around £900 more, and a comparable Fiat 500 around £1,500 more, and these three don't even give you the option of 5 doors. So yes, the i10 1.2 litre stacks up well, but what about the 1 litre blue variant that I've been driving here? Well, inevitably, given that it costs a premium of £1,000 over its 1.2 litre stablemate, the value proposition here isn't quite as strong. It all comes down to the importance that you attach to this model's sub 100 grams per kilometre of CO2 reading. Whichever petrol-powered 5-door i10 you end up choosing, the 1 litre model that I've got here, or the 1.2 with either manual or automatic transmission, you should be decently surprised by the level of standard equipment that's on offer. Though the eco-centric 1 litre demands that you do without remote central locking and electric mirrors, all models do come with air conditioning, all-round electric windows, power steering, tinted glass, and a decent quality 6-speaker MP3 compatible CD stereo with a dedicated connection for your iPod as well as one for non-Apple MP3 players. Safety-wise, though ESP stability control costs extra, you do get twin front and side airbags together with anti-lock brakes to try and ensure that you never have to use them. No one looks happy on UK petrol station forecourts these days, but at least this i10 should help ease the pain inflicted by the extortionate pump prices. When this car was first launched in 1.1 litre form, its 119 grams per kilometre of CO2 reading looked quite good, but that would be a poor showing for a car of this kind today. Which is why the 1.2 litre version, even this, the largest engine you can get in an i10, that delivers you 61.4 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and puts out a green-fingered 108 grams per kilometre of CO2. But that isn't enough to generate the kinds of headlines that Hyundai wants to make in this segment, hence the need for the 1 litre blue model that I'm driving here, which, thanks to low rolling resistance tyres and perhaps most notably an ISG intelligent stop and go system, which cuts the engine when you don't need it, when you're waiting at the lights or when you're stuck in urban traffic. Well, thanks to all of that, it manages to achieve 67.3 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle, with a gear shift indicator to help motorists get close to those kinds of returns on a day-to-day real-world basis. More importantly, exploiting the full planet-saving potential of this highly efficient 3-cylinder engine is supposed to allow owners to emit as little as 99 grams per kilometre of CO2. Now, this sub 100 grams per kilometre CO2 figure enables this variant to neatly sidestep both vehicle excise duty and the London congestion charge. And low running costs mean low benefit-in-kind taxation too. Owners will also be pleased to find that insurance groupings are eminently affordable, ranging between 9 and 12 on the 1 to 50 grouping scale. Plus, Hyundai's Triple Care 5-year warranty will continue to be a big draw, the package including an unlimited mileage warranty, roadside assistance and vehicle health checks for 5 years. This i10 delivered quite a shock to the city car sector's established brands when it was first launched in 2008. Many of them are still struggling to catch up. Alternatives are usually lacking in practicality, with compensation provided in terms of perceived trendiness. But if, understandably, you can't be bothered with all that, then this Hyundai makes a lot more sense, continuing to put a definite tick in the boxes marked practicality, quality and value. With the far more efficient range of engines provided for this improved version, it can now also deliver running costs to match or beat the best of its rivals. Plus, as before, it's good to drive, well equipped and impressively spacious for a city runabout. What it all boils down to is that if you're buying on a budget and simply have to have a new car, then you have to consider this one.